Have you ever felt like you were always the one holding everything together? You walk into a room, people are talking, laughing, acting like everything's fine, but you feel it. Something's off. You don't know how, you just do. It's like you've got this radar for emotions and you pick up on what people aren't saying, and somehow you always end up being the one to step in, calm things down, help someone breathe again. But here's the thing. You're always the one who notices, the one who understands, the one who helps, and yet no one ever really checks in with you. You get the late night texts, the long voice notes, the "can I vent real quick" bye calls. People lean on you, they trust you, they tell you their mess, and you carry it without letting them know that maybe, just maybe, you're not okay either. You've built this role, the strong one, the good friend, the peacemaker. But it gets heavy, doesn't it? Being the one who never falls apart, who always smiles, who always says, "Yeah, I'm fine," even when you're not, and maybe no one sees it. Maybe they don't realize how much it takes out of you, but you do. If you're a Libra, with Life Path 2 and an ENFJ at your core, none of this is a coincidence. You were built to feel, to connect, to carry, but that doesn't mean you should carry everything alone. Maybe it's time we talk about you for once. You ever have that moment where someone calls you their rock, and for a second it almost makes you laugh? Not because it's not true. You are that person. You show up, you hold space, you listen when no one else does, but deep down you're thinking, man, I'm crumbling too. I'm just really good at hiding it. Let me tell you a story. There was this woman I knew. Let's call her Sarah. She was the go-to friend for everyone. Breakup at 2 a.m., call Sarah. Job crisis? She'll bring coffee and sit with you for hours. She remembered birthdays, sent check-in texts, kept people together when they were falling apart. But here's what people didn't see. On her own birthday, she spent the evening alone. No texts, no calls, no dinner plans. She didn't even tell anyone it was coming up because, in her words, "I didn't want to bother anyone." You see that? The person who never lets anyone feel alone felt completely invisible. And the worst part? She didn't even feel angry, just numb, like, well, I guess this is just how it is when you're the strong one. That hit me hard, because I know a lot of people like Sarah, quietly exhausted, emotionally available for everyone, constantly putting themselves last, not out of weakness, but out of habit, out of programming. And chances are, if you're still watching this, you might be that person too. You've learned how to sense what people need before they ask. You notice the tension in a room before anyone speaks. You adjust. You soften. You carry the weight so others don't have to. But what happens when you need support? What happens when you're not okay and you don't even know how to ask for help anymore? That's what this story is really about. It's about the people who are always there for others, but rarely feel like anyone's there for them. And I get it. Maybe you're scared to say something. Scared people won't understand. Or worse, they'll pull away, so you stay quiet. You wear the mask, you smile, you help, you give. But inside, you're just hoping someone might finally notice that you need holding too. So let's break this down. Because the way you feel, the way you show up in the world, always reading the energy, always trying to make things better for everyone, that didn't just happen by chance. It's in your soul design. Let's start with Libra, the peace seeker. You probably hate conflict. Not because you can't handle it, but because it physically messes with your nervous system. You feel off when things aren't balanced. You'll keep the peace even if it costs you your truth. You see both sides. You want fairness. But sometimes, and let's be honest, that means you end up in the middle of everyone else's mess, trying to fix things that were never yours to fix in the first place. Then there's life path number 2. That's the number of the diplomat, the helper, the one who was born to connect, to understand, to feel. You didn't come here to lead by being the loudest in the room. You came to lead through energy, empathy, intuition. You feel people. And I don't just mean emotionally, I mean energetically. You can walk into a room and sense sadness from across it. You can hear someone say, "I'm fine," and know in your gut, they're not. You're probably the type who can't sit still if someone else is in pain. You'll drop what you're doing to help. You'll give your last bit of energy, even when you don't have enough for yourself. and you've been like that for as long as you can remember. Now layer that with ENFJ energy. This is where things get deep. ENFJs are natural teachers, encouragers, emotional leaders. You're the one who sees potential in people before they see it in themselves. You'll push them, support them, believe in them so hard that they start believing too, and that's beautiful. It really is. But here's the double-edged sword. When you're always the one cheering others on, who's cheering for you? When you're the one who notices everyone's pain, who notices yours? People see you as confident, warm, capable, but they don't realize that half the time you're running on empty, that you're doubting yourself quietly, that being strong for everyone else has made you forget how to ask for anything yourself. And deep down, that's where the loneliness creeps in. Because when your whole life revolves around being there for others, you start to wonder if people would still love you, if you stopped being so useful. And look, this isn't about blaming anyone. Most people aren't doing it on purpose. It's just that when you radiate safety, when you feel so grounded and available, people lean in. They don't ask if you're okay because you seem like you've got it all handled. But you and I both know you don't always, and that's okay. This combination, Libra to ENFJ, it's rare, and it's powerful. You are literally wired for deep, meaningful connection, for emotional intelligence, for healing. You're not weak for feeling everything. You're gifted, but here's what you were never taught. That gift has to go both ways, because if all you ever do is give, eventually you disappear inside yourself, and that's not what you came here for. You came here to connect. But that connection has to start with you. Let's be real. You've spent your whole life being there for people, showing up, making sure everyone's okay. And somewhere along the line, you started to believe that your worth was tied to how much you give. You became the dependable one, the listener, the helper, the one who never complains, who always understands, and honestly, it's exhausting. But here's the part no one sees, the quiet ache you carry every single day. It's not loud. It doesn't scream for attention. It just sits there, like a weight on your chest, like this constant question that whispers at 2 a.m., does anyone really see me? Because, sure, people love you, but they love the version of you that gives, that listens, that fixes. Do they love you when you're tired? When you have nothing to offer? When you're not okay? There's this moment, and maybe you've had it, where you're sitting with someone, helping them through a hard time, giving them everything you've got emotionally, and for a split second, this thought pops into your head. I don't think they'd do this for me. And it stings. You don't say it out loud. You push it down. You tell yourself, it's fine, I'm strong, I don't need anything. But you do. You need what everyone else needs, to be seen, to be held, to be cared for, not because you're useful, but because you're you. This is the invisible wound, the wound of being loved for your light, but never held in your darkness. The wound of being the one who always understands, but rarely feels understood. The wound of overgiving, not because you're weak, but because somewhere deep down you're afraid that if you don't give, they'll stop loving you. And that fear, it runs deep. So you keep showing up, keep giving, keep smiling, even when you're burned out, even when you want to scream, even when you feel like you're disappearing. And maybe no one notices because you're good at hiding it. You always have been. But here's what I want you to hear and really take in. You shouldn't have to earn your place in people's lives. You shouldn't have to prove your value by being the strong one all the time. You shouldn't have to wear a mask just to be loved. You deserve to be seen for who you are, not just what you do for others. And yeah, that wound, it's real, it's deep, but it's not permanent because the moment you stop ignoring it, the moment you let yourself feel it instead of fixing it, that's when things start to shift. That's when the healing begins. There comes a moment, and it's never loud, when something inside you just clicks. It's not a meltdown, it's not a big fight, it's more like quiet clarity. Maybe you're sitting in your car after a long day and you realize no one checked in on you again. Or you get a text from someone needing something and instead of rushing to respond like usual, you hesitate. Not because you don't care, you still care, but something feels different. You start to ask questions you've never asked before. What would happen if I didn't reply right away? What if I didn't always say yes? What if I stopped being available 24/7 and just sat with my own feelings for once? It's weird at first, uncomfortable even. You feel guilty. You wonder if people will think you've changed, if they'll pull away. But then something else happens. You realize how tired you've been, how much you've been carrying that wasn't even yours. And for the first time, maybe in a long time, you wonder what it would feel like to just be you. Not the version of you who holds it all together, not the rock, not the emotional support system, just you. And that's the turning point. Not a breakdown, not a dramatic scene, just a quiet moment where you finally say, I matter too. That sentence, it changes everything. It's the first brick in rebuilding your boundaries. It's the first time you start choosing yourself, not out of rebellion, but out of remembrance. Because somewhere along the way, you forgot that you're allowed to take up space. You're allowed to rest, to feel, to need. And that's not weakness. That's human. The first time you choose yourself, it feels awkward, like you're doing something wrong. Maybe it's the first time you don't immediately say yes when someone asks for your help. Or the first time you cancel plans because your body's tired and your heart just can't. You feel guilty. You wonder if you're being selfish, lazy, cold. But deep down, it also feels like relief. You start to realize how much of your life was built around avoiding disappointment. Not yours, but other people's. You said yes to things you didn't want to do just to keep the peace. You carried emotions that didn't belong to you just to make sure no one else had to. You smiled when you were hurting. You held others while you were breaking, and it worked for a while. But slowly, it chipped away at your identity. You became this shape-shifting version of yourself. Lovable, dependable, always fine. And somewhere in that process, your own needs got buried under the noise of everyone else's. But now, you're starting to remember that your sensitivity isn't a flaw. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. Your emotions, the ones you've been trying to manage, hide, control, they've been trying to talk to you. Not to overwhelm you, but to guide you. That feeling of being drained around certain people, it's not drama. It's your nervous system screaming for a boundary. That tightness in your chest every time you say yes when you want to say no, that's your truth begging to be honored. You're not crazy. You're not dramatic. You're not too much. And you're just someone who's finally starting to listen to yourself. And that changes everything. You begin to realize that healing isn't some big event. It's not a checklist or a destination. It's small moments. Like letting yourself cry without explaining it away, like saying, I need a break, and not apologizing for it. Like admitting you don't want to be the strong one all the time. It's in how you speak to yourself when no one's watching. It's in the decision to rest, not because you earned it, but because you exist. And something else shifts too. You start to attract different energy. People who don't just take from you, but pour back in. People who respect your no as much as they value your yes. People who see you, not just what you can do for them. And slowly, the mask starts to fall off. Not because you're broken, but because you're finally safe enough to be whole. That's what awakening really is. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you were before the world told you to be small. Here's something no one ever told you. You don't have to lead by being loud. You don't have to force your way into rooms or raise your voice to be heard. Your energy, when it's grounded, clear, and honest, speaks louder than anything you could say. You were never meant to lead like a warrior. You were meant to lead like a healer, and that's powerful because it means your presence changes things, even in silence. The way you look at someone and they feel seen, the way you listen without judgment, and suddenly they feel safe to be real. The way you stand in your truth, calm, steady, and the whole room shifts. That's not weakness, that's your gift. As a Libra, your soul came here craving balance, not just in the world around you, but inside yourself. As a life path too, your purpose is connection. You bridge the gap between people, energy, emotions, but now it's time to bridge that gap for yourself. And as an ENFJ, your power is vision. You don't just feel where people are, you sense who they could be. But don't forget, that vision includes you too. You've spent so much time being the mirror for others. Now it's time to turn inward and reflect your own light back to yourself. Because the more you honor your truth, your needs, your voice, the more powerful your presence becomes. You don't need to hustle for love. You don't need to overgive to stay connected. You just need to come home to who you really are. And once you do, everything around you shifts. You've spent so much of your life showing up for others, being the safe space, the listener, the one who gives without keeping score. But now it's your turn. Not to prove anything, not to fix yourself, not to become someone new, but to remember, to come home to the version of you that's always been there, under the masks, beneath the noise, the one who doesn't need to be useful to be worthy, the one who doesn't need to be fine to be loved. Because you're not here to disappear in other people's needs. You're here to embody your own truth. And maybe, for the first time in a long time, you're ready to see yourself the way your soul sees you. If everything you've heard in this video feels like it was written for you, it's because this message was meant for you. You're not random. Your sensitivity, your depth, your empathy, it's part of a much bigger blueprint. And if you're ready to understand what that blueprint really means on a soul level, then I want to invite you to go deeper. It's called the Sacred Personality Code. It's not a generic test or a personality label. It's a personalized soul map, one that brings together your life path number, your zodiac sign, and your energetic personality type to help you finally understand why you feel so much, why you love the way you do, why you've been drawn to certain people, certain patterns, and how to break free from what no longer serves you. And most importantly, how to step into your real power without losing your softness. This code doesn't tell you who to be. It reminds you who you've always been. So if something inside you is whispering, yes, this is me, trust it. That's not just curiosity. That's your intuition, recognizing truth. Click the link below. Take that next step. You've carried everyone else for so long. Now,